Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Steelers' most important rookie might not be who you think. The 2025 NFL Draft was a pivotal moment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. With major questions at key spots on the roster, where they chose to use their draft assets would tell fans what kind of team Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin want them to be. Right from their first pick, it was evident that they wanted to build the most physical team possible. Oregon defensive lineman Derek Harmon kicked things off, who should make an immediate impact while also being a long-term replacement for Cam Hayward. Iowa's Caleb Johnson came next. He will add physicality to the run game, with the bruising Najee Harris no longer on the team. Ohio State's Jack Sawyer was added as well, and he will help bring more of an edge-setting presence to the Steelers' edge group. All of those players should contribute early for the Steelers, but fifth-round pick Yahya Black out of Iowa may be the most important of them all in 2025. The Steelers' interior defensive line has been anchored by Cam Hayward for over a decade now, and he has been consistently one of the best all-around players at his position. As great as it is to have a player like Hayward, however, they have failed to pair him with the right types of players in recent years. I am a huge fan of Keanu Benton, but he has been miscast as the Steelers' primary nose tackle so far in his career. He has lined up in the A or B gap on the vast majority of his snaps in his 2 seasons as a pro, even though he profiles much more as a pass rusher than a run defender. What Pittsburgh has needed is a true rock in the middle of their defense, and that is why they drafted Yahya Black. He is a massive man at 6'6" and 336 pounds, and he has excellent arm length at over 35 inches. The Iowa product should allow Terrell Austin to use both Benton and Hayward more effectively, eating up blocks in the middle and allowing them to be playmakers. It may take some time for Black to earn snaps as a fifth-round pick, but nobody else on the roster offers what he does in run defense. I think this pick was made for a reason beyond just adding depth. Omar Khan knows that he can't expect Hayward to keep propping up the run defense, and Black may be the answer for finally giving him a break. Browns GM says owner didn't interfere in selecting QB Jaire Sanders. Jimmy lets us do our jobs. When Jimmy Haslam's Cleveland Browns drafted QB Jaire Sanders in the 5th round, many cried owner interference. Browns GM Andrew Berry denied that claim after the draft, well, sort of. When asked if Haslam, the team owner, encouraged him to make the pick, he said, then repeated, "Jimmy lets us do our jobs." But what if part of Berry's job as Browns GM is to listen to what Jimmy Haslam tells him to do? Strictly speaking, owners have the ultimate authority in every football team, even if not all choose to use it. Or to only use it very conservatively, at what he or she feels is a critical moment. With the Browns in a quarterback crisis and Jimmy Haslam recently admitting that they made a mistake with Deshaun Watson, many felt that he was behind the team doubling down at quarterback with Jaire Sanders after drafting Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. Whether he interfered or not, I don't think makes a great deal of difference. Though more than zero. While there were differences of opinion over Sanders as a prospect, pretty much nobody believes he was a 5th-round talent. There are extraneous concerns that likely damaged his draft value, but as a football player, the Browns got a bargain. Or as Berry put it, Sanders was a pretty steep discount in the 5th round for a good, solid prospect. That might sound like damning with faint praise, and perhaps it is. And perhaps some will also use that as evidence that it was Jimmy Haslam, not Berry, behind the Browns' decision. We felt like it got to a point where he was probably mispriced relative to the draft. Really, the acquisition cost was pretty light, and it's a guy that we think can outproduce his draft slot, Berry said of Jaire Sanders. But what about that picture of Haslam in the draft room and Berry looking miserable? I think we were probably just tired from the weekend, Berry said of the lack of enthusiasm in the Browns' war room after selecting Sanders. HC Kevin Stefanski added that he doesn't think the video was timed to the actual selection. Don't read too much into that. Barry had little explanation for why Sanders lasted until the 5th round. He didn't specify how the Browns drafted him, but he did call his late availability a steep discount. They had already drafted another quarterback 2 rounds earlier, though, so it does make sense. If you're going to trade up for another quarterback, you better believe he represents great value. What role Jimmy Haslam played in Jaire Sanders joining the Browns, we might never know, but Andrew Barry wouldn't share the full story regardless. Nor should he, of course. For those on the outside, though, we get to have fun watching it all unfold, and possibly implode. Steelers listed as landing spot for Pro Bowl cornerback. The Pittsburgh Steelers entered the NFL draft intending on getting bigger, stronger, and more physical. On that front, the Steelers accomplished their goal. Adding 2 defensive tackles in Derek Harmon and Yahya Black added mass, athleticism, and versatility to the defensive line. Running back Caleb Johnson fills the need for a powerful presence in the backfield after Najee Harris departed in free agency, and edge rusher Jack Sawyer's play strength shows up in his run defense. Those are solid investments that had many declaring Pittsburgh winners of the 2025 NFL Draft. However, the opportunity cost included passing on high-profile quarterbacks like Jaire Sanders and Jalen Milroe, opting for Ohio State's Will Howard in round 6. It also prevented the Steelers from adding one of the draft's better defensive backs, which helped Albert Breer list them as a landing spot for Pro Bowl cornerback Jaire Alexander in a recent mailbag. Rob, I could throw the San Francisco 49ers, Rams, Steelers and Chiefs out there as teams that entered the draft with needs at the position, and didn't take corners in the first 2 rounds of the draft, Breer wrote. The question, to me, comes down to money. He's due $17.5 million this year. And, because of his recent injury history, that's shown to be a bit rich for interested teams. Alexander, meanwhile, would rather be cut so he can pick his destination, and he might not be willing to help with a contract adjustment to facilitate a trade. I would think, at this point, the most likely scenario is that he's back on a reduced contract that has incentives. We'll see, Breer concluded. At his current price, Alexander might not be a trade candidate for anybody. Per over the cap, he carries a $24.6 million cap hit as currently constructed, and the Packers would incur a $17 million dead cap charge by trading him before June 1, and approximately $7 million after. Alexander negotiating a new, cheaper deal is a non-starter, assuming he isn't just released. Further, acquiring Alexander to be a starter isn't a smooth fit. Neither he, Joey Porter Jr., nor Darius Slay is experienced, or particularly well-equipped, to play inside. Pittsburgh can use an upgrade in the slot and is banking on improvement from Beanie Bishop Jr. Alexander on the Steelers' roster, best fits as a 4th corner who is primary depth on the boundary. He's played just 14 games over the last 2 seasons and 34 since the start of 2021. Pittsburgh can't rely on his health, although he's remained productive when healthy, and he's not willingly signing up to sit. Expect the Steelers to look elsewhere if a late off-season move comes to fruition. And you fan? What do you think about Jaire Alexander's situation? Write to us in the comments.